Morning. Today we are going to analyze one problem question on constructive test. We are going to analyze this problem question using various aspects of constructive trust. Disclaimer: the video content has been made available for informational and educational purpose only. Kindly go through the disclaimer completely. Let's start with the problem question. In 2008, Brian, a psychologist, started a relationship with Claire, who was studying at the college to become a social worker. A year later, they decided to live together. Brian found a house for them to live in. As Claire was still training, they decided that Brain would become the sole registered proprietor of the house. He also paid the deposit and granted the community bank a mortgage over the house. When Claire qualified as a social worker in 2010, she immediately found a job with her local council social services department, specializing in caring for children's welfare. The couple then opened a joint bank account into which they each paid their monthly earnings and from which they paid the monthly mortgage payment to the community bank and all the other households and living expenses. Here we have to note down three important points. Brian is a sole registered proprietor. He paid the deposit and granted the community bank a mortgage or the house, and they opened the joint account. They paid the mortgage payments and all the other household and living expenses through the joint account. In May 2014, Claire gave birth to Thomas. At Brian's suggestion, she turned down the offer of the promotion at work before resigning from her job at the council to take care of the family. They immediately closed their joint bank account, after which Brian met the monthly mortgage payments and other household bills from his own bank account. In 2015, Brian and Claire had a second child, Megan. By this time, Brian began to work long hours, achieved greater financial security, and gained celebrity status as a resident psychologist on the TV program Dating Stars. His contract regularly took him abroad for filming. As a result, Claire spent more time looking after Thomas and Megan and carrying out minor repairs and decorating the house. Here we have to note it down. Based on Brian's advice, Claire has resigned the job and they immediately closed their bank account. And after which, Brian was the one who is paying monthly mortgage payments and household bills from his own account. When Brian gone out in 2015, Claire is spending more time looking after the kids, and she's the one who is carrying out the minor repairs and decorating the house. In 2017, Brian used an advance he received from the bank, received from the book publishing deal to discharge the mortgage with the community bank. Later that year, Claire inherited £20,000 from her aunt. She used that money to build a playroom in the garden for the children, which she designed and fitted out herself. Last week, Brian told Claire that he was leaving here and the children to set up a home with Nahlia, the director of Dating Stars. He therefore wants them to sell the house. So we have to advise Claire about what, if any, interest she may be able to claim in the house by the way of trust law principles. Here we have to note it down. Brian has discharged the mortgage payment, but Claire has spent, she took the money of £20,000 just to build a playroom, and she designed and fitted the playroom of her own. So we have to consider all these aspects and advise Claire. Let's start analyzing this case with the help of case laws. The first one is guessing versus guessing. This case illustrates that the financial contribution towards a property can establish beneficial interest. So the clear is the initial joint contribution and the later decisions to take care of the children can be seen as a contribution to the household. The second one is Lloyds Bank PLC versus Rosette, the constructive trust. This case supports the idea that the claimant may establish a beneficial interest through the contribution, even if these are not direct financial contribution to the property purchase. And a stake versus down. The presumption of joint ownership can be rebutted by evidence indicating a different intention. Claire, the initial joint contribution, along with her later non financial contributions, could argue against the presumption that Brian is the sole beneficial owner. In Jones versus Kennard case, the court found that where the common intention is established, the court can determine the shares based on what is fair. The class argument could focus on her sacrifices and contributions, especially after the birth of their children. In Geary versus Rankin case, emphasized that beneficial interest can arise from the party's conduct and contributions. So the clear action in designing and building the playroom can be seen as a contribution to the property value. The case laws respect to the equitable interest in Gissing versus Gissing case and Midland Bank PLC versus Cookie case. This illustrates the contribution to the household expenses can establish the beneficial interest, especially where the arrangements are informal. In Oxley versus Hiscock case, it's allowed the court to consider the entire course of dealings, including the non-financial contribution, to determine the shares in the property. Combinedly, this Abbott versus Abbott case and Oxley versus Hiscock case, if you see, these cases indicate the non-financial contribution like homemaking, children, child care can support the claims for the equitable interest, reinforcing the class position. Under the constructive trust, the client could argue for a constructive trust as established in Lloyds Bank PLC versus Rosette and the Stack versus Downton. This occurs when there is a common intention between the parties that Clare should have an interest in the property. In Jones versus Kerner, the court emphasized that the intention can be inferred from conduct. The class contribution, both financially through the joint accounts and non-financially, like child care and home improvements, support a claim of common intention. Under the Law of Property Act 1925, especially the Section 53(1)(b) requires that any declaration of trust concerning the land must be in writing. However, the class claim may not fall under this section since she is not seeking to establish a formal trust document, but rather to assert her beneficial interest based on the relationship and contributions. Let's see what is the nature of the claim. The claimant may seek to establish an equitable interest in the house through a common intensive constructive trust, as we have seen just now. Since Brian is a sole legal owner, Claire must demonstrate that there was a shared intention regarding her interest in the property. So the legal title versus beneficial interest, it's very simple. Brian holds the legal title as a sole registered proprietor, but Claire may claim a beneficial interest based on her contributions. How to establish the common intention? The client must demonstrate that there was an informal agreement or understanding that she would have an interest in the property. The lack of an express declaration of trust complicate her case. The relationship dynamics, example, her contribution to the household and child rearing, may not be directly relevant to an establishing an interest, but they may support her argument about the shared intention. As per the Lloyds Bank PLC versus Rosette case, it was established that common intention can be inferred from the party's conduct. Just we have seen. The class involvement in the household expenses and the joint account indicates a mutual understanding about the shared ownership resulting trust, contribution to the mortgage and the improvements. Although the client did not directly contribute to the deposit and mortgage initially, her subsequent contributions, the use of her inheritance to build a playroom, might allow her to claim a beneficial interest under the Oxley versus his case, which emphasized the importance of the contribution to the property. Mortgage payment, Claire contributed to mortgage payments when they had a joint account. However, after they closed this account, Claire's absence from direct financial contribution may weaken her claim unless she can show that her contributions were essential to the household. Financial contribution at the time of the house acquisition, Claire did not contribute to the purchase price, as we discussed, or the initial mortgage. Thus, she may struggle under the resulting trust doctrine. However, her later contributions, like mortgage payment for 2010 from 2010, could be significant. According to Lodge Bridge in Rosette case, a contribution towards a mortgage could indicate a common intention to share the ownership. It's a strong case. Indirect contributions, class contribution to the family and the home, example, caring for the children, managing the households, might not directly establish an interest, but could be considered under the holistic approach advocated in Carnot and the Stack case. The courts may take a flexible view considering the entire relationship and the class indirect contributions. Detrimental reliance, a class decision to leave her job and care for the children can be viewed as detrimental reliance on the understanding that her contributions were valued in their relationship. This reliance may support her claim for a beneficial interest. If Claire can demonstrate that she relied on Brian's assurance regarding her interest in the home, this could further support her claim. This reliance, coupled with her indirect contribution, may help establishing a constructive trust. If Claire can demonstrate she relied on Brent's assurance regarding her interest in the home, this could be some further support her claims. This reliance, coupled with her entire contribution, may help establishing a constructive trust as well. Claire may argue that she relied on this common intention to her determined, particularly when she resigned from her job to care for the children, which could be significant in the context of Gissing versus Gissing ruling case. Potential outcomes. A successful claim. If a client can prove a common intention through a combination of indirect financial contribution and the overall context of the relationship, she may secure an equitable interest in the property. A quantification of interest. If successful, the court would apply a flexible approach to quantify her interest, considering the whole course of dealings and the nature of their relationship, as seen in Carnot case. A quantification of interest. If Claire successfully establishes that she has an equitable interest, the next step is determining the size of this interest. Holistic approach. The court will look at the entire relationship and contributions over the time, as seen in Kannad versus Stack case. The Claire role in caring for the children, managing the household, may be factored into the assessment of her beneficial interest. Whole course of dealings, the court will evaluate the dynamics of their relationship and the class indirect contribution to ascertain a fair share of the property. Let's conclude. A class prospect hinge on her ability to demonstrate a common intention regarding her interest in the house, despite the absence of direct financial contribution at the time of acquisition. Her later contributions along the context of their relationship will be crucial in assessing her equitable interest. Claire is likely to have a valid claim for a beneficial interest in the property based on the principles of the constructive trust, common intention, and her contribution to the households. The court would likely consider her sacrifices, including turning down promotions and her role in child rearing, as a significant factors in determining her equitable interest. Claire may have a strong case for claiming a beneficial interest in the house based on the first one is the common intention established through their joint financial arrangements and Claire's contribution to household management, property improvements. The second one is detrimental reliance on the understanding that she had a share in the property, particularly after resigning from her job for the family care. The potential to argue for a constructive trust given the circumstances of their relationship and the shared domestic life. Claire should gather the evidence of her contributions and any mutual understanding discussed between her and the brain. In summary, Claire has a strong basis to claim an interest in the house through the principle of constructive and resulting trust, supported by common intention inferred from their relationship, dynamics, and contributions. Thank you.